or seeking a moment of calm, you belong here. Let's take a breath together and begin. Good morning, Shine On community. I am Rach, and this is the Bree Love Heritage, the Shine On podcast. And today I'm meeting delightful Bree, and I'm so excited for this conversation. And we've just had like a half-hour conversation. Previously, we could talk forever, but yeah, I'm really excited to share your story and your journey, and your heart creative brain, Bree. So welcome to the podcast, and yeah, Bree, for those who haven't met you yet, it's always a yet. Can you tell us a little bit about who you are?
I would love to. And thank you so much for having me. Like, what an absolute joy. I'm like, there's no way I'd rather spend the early hours of my morning than one, talking to Rach, but two, having a heart-led conversation. It's just bliss for me. It is total bliss. So thank you. Hi, I'm Bree. So hard to answer this question without going into your career and, where you live and the fact you have kids. Those things we use as identifiers in life. I'm going to lead with, hi, I'm Bree and I'm a storyteller. Because really, my entire life, that's the one thing that's stayed consistent. So I, as a little girl, was a prolific writer. Dad would bring home reams of old computer paper from the tax office, and I would write poetry and stories. And so I've been always had writing and stories as things that just flow, like naturally flowed out of me. So I trained as a journalist straight out of high school. I have written for lots of publications around the world. I then moved into PR and marketing, which in a way is storytelling. It's telling the story of a product or an experience. And now I'm kind of moving into my author era, which is totally unexpected. And I shouldn't have been surprised. I agree. I'm a storyteller and I can't wait to have a great conversation about where I'm at in my life.
The
It's a
beautiful
lot.
chaos of
It's
motherhood,
chaos.
or like just life in general, right? Yeah. Oh,
Absolutely.
welcome, Bree. Look, I always love
Yeah.
talking to you. And as you mentioned, like heart-led conversations. And yeah, one of the podcasts, I was like, okay, I want to, like, it's all about bringing joy back to life, bringing joy back and authentic living into motherhood. And I was like, it's a no-brainer to have you on the podcast. So thank you so much for saying yes.
Well,
So I
thank
like to start
you.
the podcast
Thank
with
you.
a little bit that doesn't have to be related to parenting at all, just as who you are as a human being.
So I am reading a book by Stephen Pressfield, who's an American author, and he writes self-help, but it's self-help for creatives. And so the book I'm reading is called Resistance. So for a lot of people, a lot of artists, a lot of people who are creative, a lot of people, even if you're an entrepreneur starting a business, if you're a writer, if you're a composer, if you're trying to birth something into the world, there's this force that Stephen describes as resistance, and it will try to stop you. He describes it as a force you have to sit down and battle every day. You're on a battleground, like just to get shit done. And so I've been having a lot of resistance has just been like grinding me to the ground. And so I'm reading his story, which is really just a battle story and all it really says in 200 pages is sit down and do the work. Sit down, acknowledge the resistance, acknowledge that you want to do everything but the work because it's hard, but sit down and do the work. So, yeah, that's Stephen Pressfield. It's called Resistance. And Stephen says the more important the work is for the world, the
Oh my
stronger the
gosh.
resistance will be.
Yes.
Well, yeah, right. So I'm feeling huge resistance towards like a calling of mine. And I'm like, okay, now I get it. I think it actually is important that the resistance, just for someone else to call out what happens when you're trying to do something. Yeah, it's just amazing. So I definitely recommend that one. And I'm listening to a podcast please tell me you've listened to this, called the
Oh.
telepathy tapes.
No, I've heard of it.
Heard of it? Oh my God. Right. They're called the telepathy tapes. And telepathy is like an old
Mm.
fashioned name for like reading minds, right? And I'm like, a friend recommended it. And I'm like, I don't do telepathy. Like, I definitely do intuition. I definitely do clairvoyance and the other voyances. I don't do telepathy. And she's like, "Oh, so the telepathy tapes is a woman in autistic children. So these are autistic children who don't speak and who struggle in it and who, for want of a better term, like discarded by society. Like we put them in schools and try to treat them like everyone else. Anyway, they've given these autistic people, most of whom are now quite young adults, these things where you can type like an iPad, right? Started typing because they can't speak. They've started communicating and they're all connected,
Wow.
they're all telepathic. They all they know exactly they're spiritual beings struggling to be in a human experience, like in their own in a body. Right. It is
I'm gonna
that's
add
it
that.
is phenomenal. So this mother gave this son one of the iPads and he said the first thing he wrote was, "I am in here." He'd never s he'd never spoken in his life.
Goodness.
You have to it is life changing, right? And what they say, like they all meet in a place called the Hill. They all know exactly what their parents are thinking. They all know exactly what everyone around them is. You have to listen to it. It's like literally it's world changing stuff. And they can diagnose like health condition. They can feel into what's wrong with you and if you're unwell. It's yeah. Anyway, I could just talk about
Yeah.
telepathy tapes the whole time, but yeah,
Will.
have a look. Yeah,
That
that's what
does
I'm
sound great.
reading and
I'm definitely
listening
gonna
to.
hit up both of them. With so Resistance and by Stephen Pressfield and Telepathy. I am
The
jumping on that for
telepathy
sure.
tapes.
Yeah, no, I
Yeah.
always appreciate a recommendation, and I'm already like, oh my gosh, tell me more, tell me more. But let's bring it up to what we're here for. I know, I'm gonna like remember, like, gotta stay on track. Gotta stay on track. We can waffle on for hours. But talk to me about
Correct.
this leads and has it changed over the years through motherhood?
Oh, absolutely. It's so much in my life has changed. So, in the last, like, 6 to 8 months, I was living a life that I felt like, and I describe it as I felt like I was playing, like, Mario Brothers level 1, the game, over and over and over and over. Like, the same things were happening, the same patterns were repeating, the same it was just the same year over and over again. Very purposely, we gave up life at level 1, and when I say gave up life, I describe it as dismantling, but I pretty much took a sledgehammer. I left my marriage, I sold my house, and I closed my consulting business within like 3 months of each other. So I've had a wild ride, and I'm now in the process of being a bit lost at sea. Like, what does life look like now? But it is this beautiful space for redefining who I am and how I want to be in the world. And I've had a calling for a while, and the calling is to be a spiritual teacher. I have no idea what that means, no idea what that looks like, but I'm giving myself the time and space to figure out what that means. And let me tell you, it is like I've let go of my old identity. And whilst I'm in creating mode, it's so fertile. It is so fertile. It is like every, everything's flowing and being given to me as like downloads from the universe. And it's uncomfortable and hard, but at the same time, mind blowingly amazing. So yeah, I'm in this little weird spot. So at the moment, joy looks like time and space to work on projects that I feel, like the trifecta for me. is when I'm using heart energy, head energy, and pussy energy. That's the trifecta. So
Amazing.
yeah, there's so much happening. That's joy for me right now. Joy in motherhood is at the moment is acknowledging the chaos, but also I'm at opposite ends of a spectrum. So I had two children who are now 21 and 18 in my 20s. And then I got a bonus baby at 43. So she's 15 years younger than her next sibling. And so I'm doing motherhood that's like P plates and Macca's drive-through trips and night clubbing and jobs and relationships at one end and Paw Patrol at the other end. So it's kind of it's being super kind to myself and saying, "You're having to use everything at once here." Like this, like I'm doing this stage, but also this stage, and it's a lot. It's a lot, and also I left my marriage, so I'm doing it alone. I'm a single mum for the first time, which feels so weird. So I'm navigating that as well. So it's a lot, but I think the kids see me and see the phase I'm in my life and see that I'm being creative and see that I'm being the most authentic I've ever been. Like I have the luxury of having the time and space to do what I want to do. And they feel that and see that. So they're good. They're, I think, loving that in their own way as well. So,
Oh, like, Brie, that is huge. What you've just said is like, yeah, like you've moved, you've ended a job, like Brie. Oh, the list of the major life events, like the biggest stresses or
yeah.
trauma or whatever it is. It's like and like you've hit all of them and the death of an identity. Like you're in a rebirth phase, which is like, oh my gosh, that in itself, every isolation plus motherhood of like, I mean, you've got the two spectrums, but like in isolation is so big. You've just been like, you know what? Fuck it. Let's just burn it all. Like that is
Right?
massive.
Yes. And I wanted to show, like, I was just stuck. And I knew that I wanted to be a spiritual teacher, whatever that means. I knew that I wanted to be a leader. I knew that I wanted to be wise. I was moving into wise woman, even though I'm still very much in mother. And I knew that I wanted to help other people see the magic. And there was nothing magic about my life. There was nothing, I just wasn't in a place where I could be any of what I felt called to be. And so I literally, by doing those things, and it is a lot, I said to the universe, I'm willing to let go of my identity. I'm willing to let go of Bree, this personality as she exists. And don't get me wrong, like she's fucking amazing and she served me really well. Like everyone loves her. She's like loud and fun and the new Bree is really quiet and centered and just all about love. These are both personalities more aligned to my soul, the stardust that I am when I'm not, a personality. Mm.
I love that, Brie. Like just hearing that, but also I'm not surprised because I've always admired about you is that you're unapologetically yourself. And it's interesting because I'm sitting here and I'm listening to you say you want to be a leader and a spiritual teacher and that. But from my perspective, you've always been that. You've already got
Oh my
those
God.
gifts and you've been like,
Oh,
you've been sharing, following your journey can see, like, can, like, man, this is huge, but it makes sense. Of course, Bree's got to unapologetic step into heart, mind, pussy power. Why not? Like, like it's, yeah.
perfect. That was so right. Like there were little glimpses of it. There've been little glimpses of it all along. Like I've never been judgmental. I've never been scared to tell the truth. I've never and let people see me. So yeah, now, even though the person I am moving into is so different, I feel like she's so different, but everyone else is like, she's the same, just evolved. At letting go of my ego is just, you'll see what happens.
I really like that how you mentioned how you've like, thanked her, like thanked this Brie and acknowledging everything that she's done to get you to this point. And I feel it about stepping into motherhood. That's such an important aspect. It's not like you're like, she's gone. I'm done with her. I'm packing her in a box, shipping her away and have nothing to do with her at all. There's some real power and empowerment by stepping into a new identity, but acknowledging all the parts of you that have come with you to this point, and then also being able to like be conscious and aware of like, okay, I really love this about myself, or I really want to, you know, amplify my leadership skills, but I'm going to do it in this space. And I think that's really beautiful and such an inspiration for women to be able to
Oh,
see that.
amazing. Yeah. Yeah, she did serve me well. She's hard to let go of. Like, I will definitely bring, yeah, some of what she is to what I do, I guess. It's kind of day by day at the moment, but yeah, she's a personality. She's not me. She's not me.
Mm.
I have a really different sense of self these days. A really, a really different sense of who I am. And I definitely feel like, yeah, I'm energy having a human experience. Whereas before I felt like a human having an energy experience, and an emotion experience, but I feel the other way around. And it's interesting that I use the game analogy because I I've been studying an ancient Chinese philosophy called Taoism. In Taoism, one of the beliefs or techniques or one of the things they do is move into what's called observer, where you observe your human experience instead of being fully in it and stressed and like, just all the emotions and all the chaos and and so I've learned to step back and observe. And so it really is now like having an avatar that's in a game where I can do whatever I want. It's
Mm.
the realization of, oh my God, I'm in, kind of a simulation. This is getting really weird, but I'm obsessed with time, space, and reality. And I'm in this incredible world. And I live in a country where I'm safe and all of my basic needs are met. I can do whatever I want. It feels phenomenal. It feels phenomenal.
Just resonate the creator of your reality.
Absolutely. So I gave a talk at a high school a couple of weeks ago. I use the game analogy because they're all gamers these days. So, okay, you get an avatar and you're in a new world in a game. What do? You do the shit you want to do. You go the places you want to go. You build the house you love. You literally design an experience that you're going to fucking enjoy and love. Sorry for swearing. I'm like, this is what you're here to do. This is what you're here to do. And in a game, if we can step back, if we can let go of, when you're in emotion and when you're, just in being that, stressed and every decision feels like life or death. And I now have this beautiful sense of it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I can create whatever I want. If it works, great. If it doesn't, that's okay. And, it's taken me a couple of years of inner work to get here, but yeah, it's pretty amazing. What if we treated our life like a game?
Mm.
What if we treated our life like, yeah, use those principles of what would I do if I was entering a game? What life would I build for myself? But then, in the same aspect, I had built a life for myself. I felt I'd grown out of.
Yeah. It's no longer in alignment.
So I design a new world. Yeah. How do I design a new what I want to do now?
Mm. This reminds me of a quote that I read this week, and it was something to the extent of, "What actually cares what you so I could have done whatever I wanted along the way." And I was like, "Oh wow, yeah." And it's also something else I read. It's like your 20s caught up, or your teens are so caught up in what everyone else is doing and thinking about you. And as your 20s, your 30s, your 40s, as you progress through each decade, you finally get to a point where you're just like, nah, I don't care. Like, and I think when I read that, it was like in your 50s or 60s. And I was like, I don't want to wait till I'm 50 or 60 to not give two hoots about what people are thinking about me, or or look back and go like, "Oh, I really wish I expressed myself in this way," or I shared my gifts in this way. So you doing this now is like, yeah, I'm listening to it and as you're speaking, I'm smiling. My heart is smiling because, yes, this is awesome. Like, imagine, yeah, what would we create if we just, and I'm saying this too from like a heart space. I'm always coming from heart and being conscious of how that impacts other people, but not doing anything that's going to bring harm to anybody else. But yeah.
But Rach, I am nearly 50.
Well, yeah, hi.
So,
Look, this is it.
you know,
You're in that era. Hey, at least you're not
women
waiting till you're
midlife
60.
dating. Yeah,
Mm.
correct.
When,
Correct. And I've started a business with a friend and mentor of mine, Robert, called Suburban Goddess. And we want to help women,
mm,
58. And it took us all that time to get to this. And it's like, no, if we can just start having conversations earlier, we just want to help women design lives that turn them on, that make them get out of bed electric and that, makes them just love life, fall in love with life, basically. Yeah. So,
I love that. Yeah. Can you talk to us a little bit more about the Suburban Goddess and what you're offering?
yeah, yeah, yeah. So Robert and I had both been in lives where basically, and we both over, you know, over time took steps to redesign our life. You've heard my story. Robin's is pretty similar in terms of ending her marriage, changing what she did work wise, and just being bolder about, like, she's a burlesque dancer now and she's a movie writer now. And she has been bold in taking on these creative, more fully seen in her life. So what we've both done in effect is I'm in the process, but she's designed a life she loves. She was in her life, that where she felt like something was missing or something was wrong. And so did I. And so because we've been through that process, we want to teach women how to do that. We want women it's built strongly. Our framework is truth, desire, and play. So we want to help women come to the truth of who they are and the truth of what they want. And when you start telling the truth, you realize that a lot of what you do is to make other people happy.
Yes.
That's just one aspect of it. Or for me, it was that I hide parts of myself I'm embarrassed with me going through my white collar is it white collar? No, blue collar, white and blue collar family and saying, "Oh, I want to be a spiritual teacher." It was like coming out of a closet. They're all like, you're going to put on tie-dyed bloody dress and move to Byron Bay and just, you've lost your mind, and I was really worried that they think I'd lost my marbles. So I had hidden the spiritual side of myself for a long time from people. So I'm like, they'll think I'm a nutter. They'll think I'm insane. And I'm like, no, actually, the world needs a bogan mum who admits she's spiritual, who comes from a heart-led place. But the world needs this. Sorry, that's what's missing. And so, yeah, it's hard. And then when you uncover desire, that's about, okay, well, when you're being fully seen and being who who you are, what do you want? Because the conversation's different. When I'm being good girl, I want a nice house and like I want everything perfect. But when I'm allowed to be truthful and let's be real, a little bit bad girl, what do I actually want? And then with play, it's really hard to actually make change in your life. It's really hard to have hard conversations. It's really hard to come out of the spiritual closet, whatever. I want to, I want to be a porn star. How do you tell your family that? Or I want to be, whatever you actually desire. And so our play aspect is practicing those conversations. Then practicing how to gently start taking steps towards that change.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
When you are Bree, you just lit me up then because, and I need to share this story. And this, like, obviously, as we're leading into our podcast episode together, I was getting different messages and downloads, and I was like, oh, that's interesting. That's come up. Like, And you're just kind of like, yep, okay. But now I know why. So the other day I was in the shower and I had this like big flashback to when I was living in Thailand. And that was like for me a real start of my spiritual journey and stepping more into authenticity, like finding myself. That was the start of my spirit quest. And I was working with two phenomenal spiritual leaders, coaches, mentors, however you want to say. Now I call them friends. Two people who I deeply admire and have done so much inner work. And so I was working with two of them in Thailand who like became all were interconnected. And they said to me towards the end of my time there, they were like, it's time to come out of the closet. And I was like, what? And I was like, it's time to come out of the closet, Rach. Like you've got to come out of the closet. And my friend identified as being gay. And I was like, but I'm not gay. I'm not gay. And they were like, what? And I was like, I'm really confused. I'm like, have you picked up on something that I'm not aware of? Like, and they're like, what are you talking about? And I was like, you're telling me to come out of the closet. And they're like, the spiritual closet. You need to start owning your gifts. You need to start sharing yourself. And like we cracked up laughing. But then that message came back through and I was like, it is time to step more authentically into myself. So then you've come on sharing this message, this deep truth of coming out of the spiritual closet. And I just can't help but thank you, universe, for this alignment, for this message, not only for me, but whoever is listening to remind them that if you're hearing that inner voice, or if you've got a yearning or a desire to be more you, if you're feeling like you have felt, Bree, where you're feeling stuck or something's not right, you're not in alignment, this is the time to take charge, take control of your life. And what an absolutely amazing offering that the Suburban Goddess is providing to women, should they choose to accept that challenge and step into this new phase of life. And this
Yeah,
work's not for the
yeah,
faint-hearted either. Like, it's for ripping off some band-aids. Like, when I've worked with clients, I'm like, "Are you sure?" Like, I don't know what's gonna shift, and I'm not gonna make things shift, but, like, sometimes like, we're gonna go deep, and then shit's gonna move.
yeah, yeah, exactly, yes. We like, really, we just want to just hard to explain, but if you just feel off, come and talk to it because we'll help you get to the truth of why. It could be anything. Doesn't mean it's spirituality, doesn't mean it's, sexuality, doesn't mean it could be anything. But yeah, what we really want to do is help you come home to yourself and how to do and learn to know what you want. Because I remember my psychologist saying to me, what are 5 things you enjoy? This is a few years ago. And I was like, oh, like, I like going, taking my kids to a park. And she's like, no, and it can't involve your kids. And I was like, oh, and I couldn't, I had nothing.
Yeah, it's
Like that, I'd lost that much sight of myself. And,
yeah.
I'm not alone. We're all similar.
Oh, absolutely not alone. It's such I'd say a universal message. And it's different too, depending on what phase or season of motherhood or womanhood you're in. So for me, I've got a 10.5 month old and a 2.5 year old. So she's 2.5 now. And it's very different. But in 3 months' time, it's going to look completely different again. For me, it's about, okay, what capacity do I have and where can I find joy in those micro moments? And along the way, finding what lights me up. And also for me too, it's like, okay, well, what lights you up as a mum, as a parent, but what lights you up, motherhood journey, wherever you are, and how can you bring the kids into how can you share that with them? And I also want to touch base too, because when you mentioned sexuality, and this could be a whole other podcast episode, but it's that coming from that creative power. There's that sensual energy, that sexual energy. It's not having sex. It's about tuning into your self. It's coming into pleasure. We're not talking about self pleasure in masturbation. It could be, but it's like what brings you joy. Let's drop down into that like root chakra, sacral chakra energy. Yeah, it's really juicy
Yeah,
when you get into that.
because there are things that your heart wants to do, that your heart loves. But then there are things that your pussy loves. I call it pussy energy. It's root chakra energy, and we're really disconnected from that energy. Like, or I got to a point, and women, uh, this is a whole other podcast episode, but women, we do disconnect. We disconnect. I was in a marriage where I never had sex, and I'd always been an overtly sexual person. I'm very flirty, very touchy, very, I love the connection of sex. I'd always been that. And it's like, well, why in our marriages do we get to a place where it just feels like a chore, and so when I did my own Suburban Goddess process, the truth was I wasn't being fully seen in my marriage. I just wasn't able to be my full self. And the other thing about libido, I'm obsessed with libido, but in Taoism, libido isn't just sexual energy, it's full life force.
Mm. Yes.
It's like all of your creative energy, and sexual energy, and just life force in totality. And so, I love it because I'm being in my libido now. I'm in creative energy. I'm in sexual energy. I'm on Tinder at 47. Oh my God. And, it's reconnecting my libido energy again. It feels phenomenal. It's great.
Yeah. You go, girl. Get it.
Thanks. Well, like all of my kids live with me. So I'm back to like having sex in cars, like I'm 17 and staying at hotels. And like, I'm like, this is the challenge of a single mum.
Gosh,
Um,
you're
you
still a
know?
human. And this is what I keep coming back to. Yes, you're a mum, but you're still a woman and you're still a human being and you have needs and desires. And yeah, we shouldn't shame it. And
Yes.
just because you're a certain
Oh,
number, there's no shame in that. Like, I
right.
hope I'm old and, well, what define old, but I hope when I'm older, I'm still living a wildly beautiful life,
Oh, yeah.
just be,
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Veto energy. I'm also writing an erotic novel.
oh, yes. Tell us more about this, please.
So, as I'm saying, like it's everything, it's just my creativity, everything's so fertile right now that I'm in this space. Yeah, I am writing an erotic novel that's set a lot of the time at Bunnings Warehouse because the main character sees a hot guy on one of the Bunnings ads. And of course, he works at her local Bunnings. And, there's lots to it.
Please tell me there's some like
I
real great puns in there, like getting hammered in aisle 9 or whatever it is. Please.
very hard. Like, I literally know every Bunnings product of Fresh Art, and I go in there and I press them against my skin to see, like, if like if I was in the act, how would this feel against my skin if I was like, and so I'm in the store aisle with like a sore on my, and you're like, what is she doing? I'm like, how do you now researching an erotic novel to see what power tools feel like, when you come up, like, it's wild. It's wild.
Just wondering what
And
it's like to
so
be nailed and getting nailed on nails, just
what? I have it in aisle 9. I love it. How did I not think of this? I did think of lowered panties are just the beginning. Oh my God. I won't, it's actually against the law to call it bunning. So I'll have to call it something like banning or,
oh
something that
gosh.
we all know it's funny.
Oh,
But
something
what about like,
hardware. It's got to be something hardware.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh,
And the sausages, like a bunny sausage.
oh my
Like there are
gosh, it's
so
so
many,
much.
I know,
Oh,
just,
I'm
I know
loving
it's never
this.
ending,
And I like
right?
sharing these puns just because that's how I approach life, but not to discredit your
So
book because I know it's going to be
no, no, no,
incredible.
no, no. It'll be fun. It'll be fun. It'll be wild. There's a lot of me in the book, and I'm like, should I be doing this? But oh well, I'm learning. But I've also been writing. I've also been writing children's books with really beautiful, right? Really beautiful messages about being in your body and as subconscious through the body, and, without these words, because a 4-year-old's never gonna understand that, but asking your heart what it wants instead of, following suit and someone said, "Well, you'll have to have, different author names." Which one? Because you can't be writing smut and also writing children's books. And I was like, "Oh, yeah, yeah, true." But then I was like, "Nah, actually, I can. And actually, I will, because that's the totality of me." I'm also a mum, heart-led mum, but I'm also a pussy-led woman, like, and why don't we let women be all of these things? Because we are.
Yeah.
And that's where the beauty is in all of, that mixture and that kind of whatever chaos and, you know, women are so many things, but we only want them to be one or two. It's like, you're a mum and a public servant. I'm like, "Nah, I'm a spiritual teacher and a children's author and a smart writer and a keynote speaker and we're here to do so many things. I want women to let it all out, let it all out."
Yes, that is a wholehearted yes from me. And I love that. And I'm so grateful for you for doing the work and putting that out there and sharing it, like sharing it so clearly just now to the women listening. Like, you can be many things. And women,
Yes.
we
Yeah.
are incredible because, yes, we have the ability to birth human life, which is huge. Like, we create human beings in this world. And if
Correct.
you come back to that womb center, you can create the life you desire. You can create
Well,
whatever you want to put out into the world. And just because you are a mother or you are whatever other identity you have, like, you don't just have one. Like, yeah, okay, you get a driver's license. So that's like, here's my name and ID, whatever. This is the human, but I've got all these other things that I am and can be, and just you're not pigeonholed. And that's what I think you've so beautifully not only expressed, but you've embodied that you are, like, Brie is so much more than just mother, wife, public servant, storyteller.
because
There's so
yeah,
much more to you as a human. There's so much
yeah,
more to you as a
yeah.
soul, and you have so much more to give to this world. You're only just beginning, my friend. We are only just firing up that
Yeah,
Buddings
yeah,
barbecue.
that's the well, like, imagine what's coming. Oh my god. Yeah.
And you've got so many ideas flowing at the moment. You're, yeah, what I call like deep in that birth portal right now.
Yes, yes, 1,000%. I've never had even as a child, I now know that I was intuitive, and I've been doing intuition training, and so now when I go deep into I'm really good now at turning off my mind and just going into intuition. And the idea, like the stuff I get, I download is just like it's mind blowing. And the stuff I now know about the world and about people, I could never logic. I could never, I could never have thought, my brain could have come up with it. I somehow have tapped into this new way of knowing things. So ideas are being given to me, but my human challenge is to execute on those ideas. Breathe, sit down, do the work. There's so much where they came from. You need to sit down and do the work. That's my life challenge. Is do the work. That's why I'm reading Stephen Pressfield. Like, breathe, sit down and do the work. Because I could just live in intuition and meditation my whole life. It's bliss, right? But that's my life's challenge of doing the work, doing the work.
Taking action.
Mm.
Have you read Big Magic?
Yeah, of
Elizabeth
course.
Gilbert?
Elizabeth Gilbert.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. My
Yeah.
favorite.
I love that book. If anyone listening, do yourself a favor, whether you identify as a creative person or not. I think as women, we are all creative, as I've just mentioned, or, creating life and whatnot. But the message that always sticks with me is, an idea or an inspiration will come to you, and it's up to you to take it and action it and bring and birth it into the world. And if you don't, then someone else will. And she uses an example of a book. And I've had this to come to me as well, where things or ideas will come and then I don't take action and then I see it and I'm like, oh, that came to me and I didn't take up on that. But I'm so grateful that that person did because the world needs that idea, that inspiration that came, that creation had to happen. It had a purpose and it found the person who was willing to do the work for it. So I think that's really powerful when you can acknowledge that. And you're doing it, Brie. Like you've got this book coming out. It comes out in October. We can
Yeah.
pre-sale buy it. Is that correct?
Yeah. Yes. So, yeah, it's called Holly Asks Her Heart. It's about a hairdressing octopus. And Rach, you rightly said to me what you love about Holly is she shows that, you know, academic doesn't necessarily mean successful. You know, she's got a hands-on creative job and and it's a job that aligns with her heart and it lights her up. Yeah, she's coming out in October. It'll be a series of Holly the Hairdressing Octopus books. And just in time, that's at brionnywinchester.com. So BRIONY Winchester.com. And you can find Holly there. It's a pre-order right now. Or if you're listening, she might be for sale. So yeah, it's amazing. You know, the other challenge for me is, all right, within all this creativity and putting things out there, what I'm actually doing is creating revenue stream, passive income for myself as well. You know, so I gave up my full time. I worked in corporate for 30 years. You know, I worked for someone else for 30 years. And now I'm in at this space of, all right, if I've given up a job, if I've given up being an employee, how do I create revenue for myself? And this is something I want to teach women too, is how to be in your creativity, create things the world needs, and then monetize them.
Mm,
That is like a huge thing the world needs from women.
yeah. Yeah, 100%. And would you mind if I just jump back a bit and share my thoughts on
Oh, yeah, of
Holly
course.
Has Her
Yeah.
Heart? Because I feel very privileged and honored to have pre-read your book before the world has received it. And
You're like a joint editor. You didn't just read it.
oh, thank you. Well, yeah, I want to thank you for bringing this book into the world. And yeah, I can wholeheartedly put my hand on my heart and say this is a book that children need. This is a book that the world needs. And what I do love about it is you've got her coming into herself. She's not looking externally. She's not giving away her power externally as to what she should do. You know, her friends have all got ideas and they're following their steps. She comes into connection with herself. She's supported by her mother to do that, which is just beautiful. And she does something that's not, yeah, it doesn't separate class. It doesn't separate gender. It doesn't separate location, like where you live. Being a hairdresser is a gift. We physically need a hairdresser. Everyone needs a hairdresser. I mean, look, you can go and cut your hair, that's fine, but like it's something the world needs, but I feel like it's so often overlooked. So this is a shout out to all the hairdressers out there. Thank you for doing your fabulous work. Yeah, I just love the Holly story, and it's something that I 100% back and advocate for, and I will be buying for everyone who I buy books for, or the children in my life. And my daughter read it. I read it to her, and when she got to the hairdresser part, there was a section in the book. She went, oh, like big wide me. I was like, oh, like so excited, and just was like, oh, mum, I like this book a lot. I like this book. Tell Brie I like this book. Can I see the
Oh my
pictures,
god.
mum? I was like, not yet.
I know. I never got pictures yet. Oh.
But it's such an amazing
Oh.
book. So yeah, thank you for doing that. And I'm so glad that it chose you to bring this into the world and birth this. So thanks, Brie.
Oh, thank you. It literally was given to me and I sat down and wrote it. Yeah, like really late at night because I'm like, if I don't do it now. So yeah, I'm proud of me for taking action on that one. 'Cause yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, yeah, Brie, we've talked, there's so much that we've shared today. And I think the key messages for me is, stepping into authenticity, stepping into being unapologetically yourself. And you're in this big birthing phase and you've got so much creation happening around you. And it's so inspiring. And I wonder how you feel like you've touched on it a bit earlier, but I do wonder how you feel this is impacting your children. And how do you think, like, what lessons are you hoping that they taking on and embodying from you really stepping in and taking hold of life?
Yeah, I think about this a lot. I think, and I think we all do, like, you want to know that you're doing the right thing, but, like, what is the right thing? And so I honestly lead by example. So I honestly do things that I know that they're watching, that I hope that they wouldn't, not models, that they see someone who's being authentic, who was in a life, that where they were unhappy. And so they've had the courage to leave and design a new one. That was huge for me in terms of inspiring other women, but also inspiring my kids, and in particular, my two daughters. I wanted my daughters to know that if you've built a life you thought you wanted, that everyone told you would make you happy and you're not happy, we can change things. And I encourage you to change things. I'm literally just doing things by example. That's all I know how to do as a mum. And, and how I interact with the world. And I do honestly now, Rach, come from this deep place of love. I do all of my conversations, all of my decisions, and so my inner critic is like, you're a softie, you're a big softie, they've got no discipline, they're not doing what they need to be doing, you're not, building them into strong people to go out to the world. And I'm like, nah, that's okay. They just see a genuine woman who loves her life and who comes from a place of love. And honestly, that's all that's all they do in life, is just approach life from a place of love and not fear. Then I've done my job. It doesn't matter what job they have. It doesn't matter, what they do in life, what they achieve, what they don't achieve, where they live, what car they drive. It doesn't, none of that matters if they're living from a place of love.
Absolutely. Yeah, I totally resonate with that, Brie. Like children, they don't need the perfect parent. They just need a happy one and they need a present one. And it sounds to me
Yes.
like that's what you're doing and you're embodying. And the
Yeah.
world will, how do I say this? The world is hard enough. The world will slack them down and bring them down and give them challenges. And I generally feel this as parents, it is not our job to make life hard for them. It's our job to make them feel loved and safe and seen. So when the world is cruel to them, they can come back to themselves and come back to family and know they've got support to face whatever the world is going to throw at them. And I think you're doing that beautifully.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
No, you're welcome. And I think that's a beautiful way to wrap up. And I'd just like to conclude with, if you had one thing that you wish mothers knew, whether it's about joy or identity or dreaming big or even motherhood, seeing that you've gone through the whole spectrum, you're now, your eldest is 21, your youngest is 4. So you've done baby and toddlerhood 3 times now.
No,
Yeah, like if there was just something that you wish you could go back in time and have someone share a message with you, what would that be?
it sounds like a cliche, but the one I want women to do is not lose sight of themselves. The cliche of you should go out with the girls and you should go and get your nails done and you should do the things that make you happy, and self care. And like, really, the more you connect with what you love and the more you take an hour for yourself and do whatever the hell you want, literally the happier everyone around you will be. Everyone. You know, your husband might grump about it, or your mum might grump about it because you've got to mind the kids, or it just has this ripple effect where, like centered, brown, you know, and like like it's everything. So just put put yourself first occasionally. Take an hour out occasionally, like seriously. I know it sounds like such a cliche, but it honestly is when you reconnect with yourself, it has an impact on everyone around you. So do that.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing is reconnect with what lights you up, what brings you joy, and do more of that,
Yes.
knowing that
And
it
if you can't
impacts.
remember, like exactly, like me and the psychologist, I'm like, I don't know. Like just go for a walk, just go outside, or just go and get a coffee and just sit quietly and think about, okay, next time I do this, what would I like to do?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. How will I do things differently? Like, oh, hang on. Everyone survived. The house didn't burn down. Where everyone's fine and safe and happy, and
Correct.
I can
Correct.
leave. I'm not 100% need to be here.
Correct.
Mm. Oh, Brie, honestly, thank you so much for this
Thank you for
beautiful
having
conversation.
me.
I mean, as we've mentioned before, we could talk for hours, and you always bring such heart and insight and wisdom into conversation. And I'm so grateful for you sharing all of that with the community today. And so, where can people connect with you, follow your work, cheer you on? And yeah, I know you've got your personal author
Yeah. Yeah.
creatives, and then you've got the Suburban Goddess. So, if you could share both, that would be amazing.
Yeah. Like me personally on Instagram, I'm Briony Winchester, all one word, and Briony's Briony Winchester. And I'm on Facebook, I'm Briony Winchester author. And then if you want to join our goddess community, we would love to have you. It's just suburban on Instagram, it's suburban_goddess_. If you just search suburban, there's no one else called that. That's our little name. And then just Suburban Goddess on Facebook as well.
And we'll include some links and things in the show notes and also
Amazing.
share it on our Instagram and Facebook stories. Thank you for joining me on Breathe, Laugh, Parent. If this episode brought you a moment of calm or connection, please share it with a fellow mama. Subscribe on your favourite platform or visit shineom.com.au/podcast for more. Until next time, keep breathing, laughing, and parenting with heart. The information shared on Breathe, Laugh, Parent, the Shine On podcast, is for general educational and inspirational purposes only. It is not medical, therapeutic, or professional advice and should not be relied on as such. Always consult a qualified health or parenting professional for support tailored to your individual needs. Shine On and its guests disclaim any liability for decisions made based on this content.